share in the holiday cheer of the Thanksgiving holiday. And over the years, the certificates that we've given out is more than to 100 needy families in CD13. Since this was the 10th year that Tom and Christine have done this together with Dwight, we wanted to thank them for really giving from their hearts. So often we hear about Thanksgiving and we love about coming together as families, but we don't always remember those who don't have those opportunities to share in the same bounty that we do. So it gives me great pleasure, and I hope you will join me in a round of applause of giving Planning and Associates a certificate, and give Christine the Tom and Christine Stemna one, and Dwight as well. Thank you to the great folks in Glendale who help out the city of LA as well. With that, I'd love to hear, please give them a round of applause and thank them for the great help that they've done.
Just very quickly, Councilman, thank you very much. The recognition is not needed. This is something we do, and it really is a satisfying thing to do. And we enjoy doing it. We'll continue doing it. And to the rest of the members of council, thank you as well.
Mr. Reyes.
I just wanted to rise and thank Tom Stemlock and the group. But in particular, I wanted to acknowledge Tom because I keep using this term, unsung heroes. Tom is one of those folks. Just the other week, we opened up a clinic in Lincoln Heights. And through his stewardship, was able to move permits, was able to move the development process without penalizing this nonprofit, which maximized their capacity to serve the community. And through Tom's work, they were to achieve such a level of effectiveness. So I want to thank Tom for all his hours on that board and for serving those parts of the communities in the city of LA that don't get that kind of resource. And thank you, Tom. You're a great example of how the private sector works with the public sector for the benefit of all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. And Mr. Smith, yes.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to join in the group of people wishing you well, because I know that both Tom and Chris Stemnock are great community supporters, and they do it without any fanfare. They do it without any recognition. They don't do it because they want those kind of things. They do it because it's important to them as human beings to support people. I know in my district in particular, they've been right there, always helping the YMCA and coming to our dinners for years and helping us with planning and expansion and giving of their time free of charge and anything that comes along. And they're just great people, and I thank Mr. Garcetti for bringing them forward today and giving them the recognition they truly deserve. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Let me also add my words of thanks and let everyone know that although we've talked about them contributing from the private sector, both Chris and Tom were long time city employees in the planning department, so they've never really left the city family, and we appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Mr. LeBond.
I'm just proud, thank you, Mr. Garcetti, because I walk by the Stemnock's home, and I know what good constituents they are, and they're great citizens and all great professionals. So good to see you honor so many special people for this program.
And I was happy to share them with you after we redistricted. It was nice that we both got them for a little while. But thank you again to Planning Associates and to all the folks who give of their hearts during Thanksgiving. We hope that this example here today is something that inspires other folks in the city of Los Angeles to do the same. Thank you very much. Okay. Absolutely. For a second presentation, I'd like to ask folks from the March of Dimes to come here. We have declared on November 16th, 2004, Prematurity Awareness Day here in the city of Los Angeles, and want to take this effort as time to speak about this issue here, not just in Los Angeles, but nationwide, to know more about it, to help those folks that we represent in the communities where they live. Unfortunately, in this country, prematurity has been escalating steadily over the last 20 years. And between 1981 and 2002, the rate of prematurity births rose almost 30%. Each year, more than 470,000 infants are born prematurely. That's roughly the size of New Orleans or Cleveland, if you want to imagine, each year. In order for us to reduce the high rate of premature births in Los Angeles, it's going to require a commitment from all of us, parents, schools, community leaders, and policymakers acting in concert with one another. One such group that brings these different groups together and truly makes a difference, especially in Hollywood, is Children's Hospital Los Angeles, working in concert with their nationwide partner, the March of Dimes. March of Dimes, through the Children's Hospital Los Angeles, have been fighting birth defects and other infant health problems for many, many years. Their life-saving research, innovative programs, and the dedicated volunteers that really form the network of the March of Dimes have literally saved millions of babies from death and from disability. Their dedication and involvement serves as a model for other service organizations nationally and here locally. And I look forward to the continued dedication to support young people's hopes for their own futures, to have rich and healthy lives. I urge my colleagues to join me today in supporting all the activities which promote healthier babies in our declaration of November 16th as Prematurity Awareness Day in the city of Los Angeles. And I'd like to introduce Vicki Lombardo from the March of Dimes, who will say a few words about the project. And really, as we talk to our own staffs and our field people who communicate day to day with the constituents that we represent, we hope there's some useful information working with Children's Hospital, which is a resource not just in Hollywood, it's a resource regionally, finest children's hospital in the country, and working with great partner March of Dimes of how we can address this issue. So please welcome Vicki.
Thank you very much, Councilman. I'm very pleased to accept this proclamation today on behalf of the Southern California chapter of the March of Dimes and the women and children of Southern California who suffer the effects of prematurity. The councilman shared with you how many babies are born nationally, but in California, 52,000 are born every year too soon. Of those, 10,000 every year will suffer long-term effects of prematurity. That includes deafness, blindness, disabilities including cerebral palsy, and learning disabilities that affects our school system. When we start looking at the numbers and the dollars that are spent on prematurity, Over $13 billion, $13.6 billion annually are spent in the United States on this issue, just on the hospital care of the mother and baby to get the baby discharged from the hospital. The average lifetime costs of the effects of prematurity are over $500,000 per baby. That affects our families and that affects our healthcare systems. $4.4 billion is our estimate for how much California spends in their Medi-Cal and CCS systems to support and help these babies survive. And we're fighting in our campaign to decrease those effects. We want to thank specifically the City Council and the city employees of Los Angeles because they walk with us every year to help us raise money to fight this cause. And you're one of our best teams, and we want to say thank you so much, particularly to Councilman Labange and Zine. You helped smooth the route for us and make it a very memorable event for all of our walkers. I brought with me today Alma. Alma is the mother of a preterm baby, and I wanted her to take just a few minutes to share her story so you see that personal effect of prematurity.
My name's Alma Marquez, and thank you so much for having me here today and for designating Tuesday as Prematurity Awareness Day in the city. 6 years ago, I got pregnant, was very excited about our pregnancy, and planned to have a full-term birth, planned for 40 weeks of pregnancy. And at my 25th week, went into contractions and went into labor. And I was immediately hospitalized. My daughter, Miketsley, came 3 days after I first started having contractions. She weighed 1.5 pounds. And I know Vicki also brought these little wristbands, which are to raise awareness about the premature campaign. And this is actually, incidentally, the size that my daughter was. And she fit in the palm of our hand. And I don't share this often in terms of how big she was, but I remember my dad, when he came to see her, he was totally freaked out because she looked like a Barbie. And he could only bring himself to come to the hospital one time. And this is a very strong man who just couldn't deal with the fact that his only granddaughter was born weighing 1.5 pounds. And it's an issue that's really affecting tons of people in our communities. Latinos have a disproportionate rate of preterm birth. African American women have a disproportionate rate of preterm birth. And it's an issue that we really need to acknowledge and really help change so that children don't have to be hospitalized for the first 4 months of their lives. So families like mine won't have to get 8 different calls saying, how soon can you get to the hospital? Your baby may not survive the night. My daughter received 7 blood transfusions, was hospitalized, again, for 4 months, the first 4 months of her life. And I didn't actually get to hold her until after a month that she was born. There are things, obviously, that have a major effect on her. She has asthma and other problems related to the preterm birth. She had cerebral palsy, or at least a scare with cerebral palsy. We're very lucky that she doesn't actually have cerebral palsy. And the good news for us is that Miketsley is now a thriving, bilingual 5-year-old who is an amazing, amazing little girl. And of course I'm biased because I'm her mommy. But there's so many other children that don't have the same type of positive birth outcomes that she's had. And that's part of my mission, and I've made a lifelong commitment to the March of Dimes to raise awareness about this issue so that other mothers and other families and other babies don't have to suffer the same experience that we did. So thank you so much for joining us in this path, and thank you so much, Mr. Garcetti, for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki, for sharing that information, and thank you, Alma, for sharing your story. Sharing those stories does change the lives of so many people out there, and you know, we have quite a few people in these chambers, but about 50,000 people watch this on television, and we do hope that folks will contact the March of Dimes or Children's Hospital to find out more information. That goes for the council offices too. Feel free to follow up with my own office to know ways that you can publicize and assist I was actually not anywhere near like that. I was born a month prematurely, and I know with support and nurturing and love, people can turn out all right, and we really appreciate everything that you've done to make this day something that we all focus on this issue. So on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, I'd like to present this to you, and thank you. Congratulations for all of your work. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Mr. Villaraigosa, did you want to? I thought you were asking. No, Mr. Smith is next. Let me recognize Councilmember Smith. He's coming forward. Let Antonio know he's next.
Mr. Zine, you want to join us? Thank you, Madam President. Today, I'm going to make a couple give a couple of awards to some people that are very special to us in the San Fernando Valley. First of all, I have with me Captain Greg Myers, formerly of the Valley Traffic Bureau, now with our training division, and also Sergeant Roger Archambault, who's Sergeant of Valley Traffic Division, Motor Sergeant. And finally, Officer and Motor Officer Norm Kellums. I want to present Norm Kellums with a very special award for his job as traffic safety educator, in addition to performing his normal duties as a patrol officer. He has made numerous presentations to schools and businesses throughout the San Fernando Valley and has brought to them the message of safe pedestrian activities, vehicle activities, and child seat car usage, and in general, just trying to make our streets a safer place for our kids and for the working public and our citizens. Recently, Officer Kellums was given a new assignment by Captain Myers when he was captain of Valley Traffic Division for another special outreach program to remind people that leaving children, young children, unattended in cars, particularly in summer months, would very quickly lead to their death or tragic injury. And he brought this program to us. We did a demonstration project last summer where we had a car sitting in the sun for 15 minutes, and the temperature in the car went from about 91 degrees, as I recall, to over 130 degrees in just 15 minutes of sitting in the sun. And I was just asking Captain Meyer, and it's my recollection that because of the outreach program that we had, the motion I brought in August to make it Awareness Month for child safety, that there were no deaths in the city of Los Angeles this summer from children being left unattended in vehicles in the hot weather. And so for Norm Kellums in particular, we want to thank him and recognize his diligence, the work he did, that we finally had a summer when no child was tragically left in a car and died the result of this tragedy. So Norm, on behalf of all of us in the San Fernando Valley, and in particular your former colleague on motors, Sergeant Zine, we present you with this recognition for the outstanding job you've done for the people of Los Angeles. Thank you so much.
Let me also, Mr. Zine?
I just want to add a couple comments. I've known Norm for many, many years. He's been a very dedicated member of the Los Angeles Police Department and very dedicated to traffic safety and keeping people alive. He does a tremendous job with about 2 million people out there in the San Fernando Valley with the public education program that they have at Valley Traffic Division. I know Councilmember Gruhl is very supportive of this also, all of the council members citywide, but in particular us in the San Fernando Valley, where we always lead the city of Los Angeles in traffic deaths and traffic injuries. And it's a tribute to Norm Kellums and the people at Valley Traffic Division for the tremendous effort they've done to bring down the deaths and the injuries, especially when we have children in cars where the parents inadvertently or whatever reason leave them there, and we know the tragedies that occur. So Norm, from your old sergeant, congratulations, keep up the good work, and you have a younger sergeant now there leading down the cause. Okay, thank you very much. Wendy, did you want something to say? Wendy Gruhl. Councilmember Wendy Gruhl.
I just wanted to add my comments and thank you to Valley Traffic and to Norm. And this morning, Greg, I was at an event, a Child Care Resource Center event that represents a lot of the San Fernando Valley, and they had cards on the table talking about how important it was to educate parents about the importance of not keeping their kid in the car. And I shared with them your motion that was something going to make a big difference in the city of Los Angeles. And Norm has been particularly, as has Captain Meyer, helpful to us on our child care safety program. Not only does he help design the program, but he's out there on Saturdays and Sundays helping install those child care seats, some which we've donated, taking out, when you see some of the child care car seats, and the fact that they have, I think the last one we saw, Norm, had been actually burned in the back and it had melted, and just that these kids are in the car. So Norm has been particularly a wonderful addition and something in Valley Traffic, as well as Captain Meyer, who, even though you have left Valley Traffic to now to training, you are someone that will be sorely missed, but we will still call upon you for all of your activities. So I just wanted to stand up. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for letting me participate. These guys and ladies out there really help save lives every single day.
We have Mr. Labange and Mr. Cardenas and Mr. Smith.
Okay. Mr. Labange? Keep going. Yeah, that's going to do, because we're going to do another one. All right. But Captain Myers, ladies and gentlemen, was one of the truly great Valley Traffic captains, really brought great leadership to the division, and I would like to say a few words about Norm, I believe.
Thank you very much. Although Chief Bratton recently honored me by selecting me to be captain at the police academy, in my heart for the rest of my life, I'm going to have a big piece for Valley Traffic Division. These are among the finest officers you will ever meet anywhere, in not just this city, but in this country and in this world. It was great to work with them. Norm Kellums, in particular, has dedicated his career to traffic safety, to saving lives, and particularly with respect to the expertise that he has developed nationally for child passenger safety restraint, and lately with Caitlin's Law, the Don't Leave Your Child in the Car law. I just hold him in very, very high esteem for his dedication and his commitment. And while I'm here, I have to tell you that I am surrounded by members of the City Council from the San Fernando Valley who, for the 5 years that I was there, gave nothing but overwhelming support for traffic safety, making Los Angeles safer, because traffic affects everyone every day. And Cindy Misikowski, I include you in that, because before the redistricting, you had a piece of the West Valley, and you were among the first to support our innovative efforts to save lives. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Captain.
Officer Kellums, you'd like to say a few words?
Well, I'm a little bit overwhelmed. I've been working in Valley Traffic since 1984. I have 20 years in traffic, and I've been a child safety seat instructor for about 8 years. I had the opportunity to meet Caitlin's mother and grandmother a couple years ago. They were students of mine in a child safety seat class. They gave me the seed in regards to Caitlin's Law, which was adapted in January of 2002. I brought the seed to Valley Traffic and in turn gave it to City Council. You planted the seed, you watered it, you made it grow into what it is today. Every year in August, we're going to make that Purple Ribbon Month, and we're going to bring the awareness to the city of Los Angeles, and if not farther, to make sure that we don't have any children that are seriously injured or killed in our automobiles. We'll continue with our child safety seat programs. Tomorrow we're going to be at San Jose, in case anybody needs to be there. San Jose Elementary, that is. But thank you, City Council. Thank you, Captain Meyer, Sergeant Roger Archambault, and have a good day.
I would remind the council that included in my motion of August with a request of the state legislature to change the fine. Currently, the fine is $250 for leaving a child unattended in a vehicle that could cause their death. Yet the fine in the state of California for littering is $1,000. I think a child's life is worth a lot more than that. And I will be calling upon Valley Traffic to go with me to Sacramento to lobby for that bill when it comes up in the legislature next year. During the last 5 years, we've been very fortunate to have with us a truly great captain of Valley Traffic Division, and with the assistance of Sergeant Roger Archambault, Motor Sergeant Archambault, The Valley Traffic Division has done tremendous things in bringing traffic safety to the San Fernando Valley. Not just what Norm Kellums did, but also under his leadership the past year, the Valley Traffic Division had more citations than any other division of the city of Los Angeles. Last year, Valley Traffic Division increased the number of DUI arrests from 3,500 to 5,200, truly making a major impact on the life and the protection of the innocent citizens of the San Fernando Valley. Under that time, we've had the great leadership of Captain Greg Meyer, but I know how Greg feels about this, and so today we all want to honor, in particular, Valley Traffic Division, but thank in particular Captain Meyer for bringing us tremendous leadership and bringing that division to the quality it is and really the shining star in the entire city of Los Angeles. Captain Meyer, on behalf of all of us for Valley Traffic Division, all the officers you led all those fine years, thank you for your service. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Although I've only been a councilman in the San Fernando Valley just over a year, I've been living there all of my life. And I just wanted to say thank you to Captain Meyer for being part of making the streets safer as I was growing up, but more importantly, educating the public and educating the people of the valley how we need to keep our streets safer, giving them the basic simple truths about what is really going on our streets and how people need to slow down, people need to pay attention, and people need to do the right thing. As a matter of fact, I just came from an elementary school this morning where one of the parents was expressing her frustration on in and around our schools, how people just really don't respect the laws of traffic laws. Worse than that, and I agreed with the woman when she said, well, these people are teaching their children the wrong thing. And Captain Meyer has been working on teaching parents, not only speaking English, but speaking Spanish and whatever language they come, about how important it is to teach their children the laws and also to respect them, etc. I'm going to miss him as he is now training our new police officers at the academy, but at the same time, there's always something positive out of something that gets you down. And the fact of the matter is, now we're going to have a piece of Captain Myers in every one of our future officers, and they're going to understand better how to make our streets safer. Not just being strong-minded and strong-willed, but being smart about how to express to people the importance of these simple requirements. In addition to that, I just have one question for him. Maybe he can express it when he gets up to the mic. I've noticed that our traffic officers who ride the motorcycles, they wear these really cool, tall boots, these real shiny boots. But I also noticed they get their belt pretty full of stuff, but they use their boots to stick other things. And now that you're not wearing those boots, Captain Myers, where are you putting all your stuff?
Yeah, you need a moment or two to prepare your rebuttal there. Greg, I just want to tell you that it's been such a privilege for me and for everybody in my office there on Ventura Boulevard to work with you, and for all the communities that I represent. You and your troops have just done the most extraordinary things for the people of the Valley. I am so personally grateful to you for your friendship and for your leadership, and I really, really mean it. That word gets thrown out around here a lot, leadership, but you are a true leader. I do hope that you won't right now get a chance to read the fine print on this resolution that you've just been handed. You can check it out later. It's actually a joint motion on behalf of all of us from the Valley to block your transfer over to the Academy, and we'll be taking it up in short order this morning. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Royce. And Greg, let me just answer, well, with Tom as well, that we always hear how people want to see more LAPD officers in their neighborhoods, and it's probably one of the most common calls that we get in our council offices. But bar none, the really most popular people in LAPD are the motorcycle officers. That's what we get every call from in every single council office. Can't you get the motor officer here on this street? And that you have managed it as well with these fine officers behind you, and even Dennis Zine in his days. They really were the ones people really wanted to see, because they knew effectively what they were doing and how effective they could be, not only around schools, but in our neighborhoods throughout the valley in particular, but throughout the whole city. So the innovations as well as your presence, the very few, and we know that there's very, very few motorcycle officers in terms of the whole array of PD slots, but you really do stand out in the front of them all. So thank you for that continued work. Mr. Labange.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to add, John Egan, who used to be your senior lead out there in the Palisades for many years now, he's been the great traffic officer, the motorcycle officer for North Hollywood, and all the work that Valley Traffic has done to elevate the concern of safety, because everyone wants to go home at night. And what a tragedy it is when someone gets in an accident because of driver error. But this man showed no error. He just elevated it so highly when he became commander of Valley Traffic and brought traffic up there because the speed, our engineers thought big wide streets are good, but not necessarily because people speed more. And the work you do, and I remember the bunny walks and the pedestrian safety and the Santa Claus walks, all were real important. Many, many things that you've done, the DUI programs that you've had to try to make our streets safer. I just want to thank Mr. Smith and Mr. Zine. I understand for 5 years that Valley Traffic has just exceeded through the roof, but I believe it was 5 years ago that Dennis hung up his motorcycle, so I see the reason why. Congratulations, Valley Traffic. All of you guys, fly safe.
I just want to add that I've known Captain Meyer for many, many years. I think it's when we first met when you were a sergeant with the police department and rose to the rank of lieutenant, now captain, and the academy. You're going to be training new police officers in the training of experienced officers, the in-service training programs that you're going to command. But I know that there was one safety program that you developed at Valley Traffic, and it was around Thanksgiving, and it was a turkey that you had crossing Sherman Way. And it was, well, it was very difficult. We couldn't find an officer who wanted to dress in a turkey outfit. So we recruited Officer Christopher Zine from the LAPD. He dressed in the turkey outfit. He was a young probationer. He had no choice. He had to follow directions. So he walked back and forth, and the officers, and Norm was there with Sergeant Archibald and all the Valley Traffic motor officers did a tremendous job. And it's interesting with the number of motor officers we have and the context they make. We get a lot of complaints for police service. They write citations, and those citations are very expensive, but it's interesting how the people accept that because they're well-trained, they're professionals, and it's called selling that citation so the violator will understand what they did and the consequences, and hopefully they won't commit that violation again. So, Greg, congratulations for the 5 years you spent at Valley Traffic. I know you got many more years with the department. You'll enjoy the academy experience, and all the folks at Valley Traffic, and hopefully they'll be able to view this at a later time. We appreciate everything you do every day. And going into these holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Hanukkah, we know a lot of people want to drink and drive. These officers will be out there. They won't be with their families. They'll be out on the streets protecting all of us. So congratulations to all at Valley Traffic Division, in particular, Captain Greg Meyer.
Thank you very much. Get right here in the middle. Dennis, get right by him. Here's the shot right here.
Again, briefly, thank you all so much for your continuing support of traffic safety measures, not just in the Valley, but throughout the city. We want to save lives everywhere, and I know that Captain Ron Marbury, who is just taking over Valley Traffic, will continue those efforts. As far as Dennis Zine's son being the turkey in the crosswalk, I don't really want to go there. It, it brings up memories of like father, like son. But thank you all very much.
Thank you, Captain. You're done.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Clerk, while we have the quorum, why don't we call the roll?
Cardenas, Garcetti, Gruel, Hahn, Labange, Ludlow, Miskowski, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Smith, Villaraigosa, Whiteside, Padilla. 12 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
All right, thank you. And members, let me take this moment to introduce some guests who are visiting with us today. They are here with Mr. Ellis Stanley, our Emergency Preparedness Office. They are members of the Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly. Please join with me in welcoming our visitors. Thank you. The Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly is similar to the City Council, and they are representing variously the Committees on Education, Committee on General Affairs, Urban Development, and Committee on Welfare. So welcome, and we hope you enjoy your visit to our city. Thank you. And I think Mr. Smith would have another presentation.
One final presentation for all members now, not just San Fernando Valley, but we have a historic recognition week here, and that is National Police Appreciation Week here in the city of Los Angeles, which we have done this week in November for the many decades now. We recognize the tremendous work of our officers, not just traffic officers, but every police officer in the city of Los Angeles that goes out day in and day out to make our streets safe, make us proud of them, make our citizens feel safe in their homes and on their streets. And today is the day we recognize all the officers. I know Mr. Garcetti had their first day yesterday at Hollywood Division with hundreds of people in Hollywood, the Hollywood Chamber. There's events going on throughout the city of Los Angeles this month to recognize the incredible work our officers do and have done in particular this past year, bringing crime down by over 15%, I believe, citywide now. And so it's a tremendous accomplishment that all these men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department do. And so we're presenting this award today. Because they're here today, I'm going to give it to Motor Sergeant Archambault to take back and put on display in the Van Nuys headquarters of the OVB and the Valley Traffic Division also. So Sergeant Archambault, if you'll please take this with our dearest and congratulations and thanks to all the men and women who wear the blue and go out and work for us. Thank you so much.
I want to just add that yesterday at West Valley Division, the folks, the supporters, the CPAP group, a number of people came out and they had food, barbecue. In fact, there's an article in the Daily News today about it. They had quite a spread that took care of all the officers during the entire day, all the watches. In fact, the fire department thought it was so good they came by and enjoyed the festivities. So appreciation to the West Valley and all those community members that are doing that this week, a Police Appreciation Week in the city of Los Angeles, showing their support for our members of the LAPD. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Councilmember Smith. For our next presentation, we are going to recognize Councilmember Villaraigosa and his special guest.
Madam President, members, first of all, I'd like to introduce my granddaughter, Isela Silva, who's here with us today, and she's going to make this presentation with me. It's a real honor to be here today. You know, Muhammad Ali once said that champions aren't made in gyms. Champions are made from something they have deep inside them, a desire, a dream, a vision. They have to have last-minute stamina, he said. They have to be a little bit faster. They have to have the skill and the will. But the will must be stronger than the skill, he said. And today we get to see a young man with a tremendous skill, but an incredible will as well. I want to congratulate young Hector Almazan. Hector participated in the 2004 National Junior Golden Gloves Boxing Tournament in Chattanooga, Tennessee on July 7th through July 10th of this year. He captured his 4th consecutive National Junior Golden Gloves title to go along with his 2002 National Silver Gloves title. Hector is now a 5-time national champion in the 114-pound class, I guess. He's also a student at Roosevelt High School. Yes. Yes, sir, he said. Told you he's a great kid. He's not only the team's most tenured member, but he's also its most distinguished. He's currently a junior at Roosevelt High School, an honor student with a 3.6, and this is while he trains 6 days a week and travels the entire country to compete at a national level. His older sister, by the way, this is a great family and a great American success story. His older sister, also from Boyle Heights, also went to Roosevelt High School. Mireya Almazan graduated cum laude with a bachelor's degree in economics from Harvard University. So when I say to you that this is an incredible family, make no mistake, and he's got a 3.6, and he says, I said, what, have you decided on a college? And he said, no, not yet. And I said, well, you're looking at the Ivies? And he said, yes, absolutely, looking at the Ivies. And when you think about what it takes to just the sheer will to be a 5-time national champion, to be an honor student, to come from a family that's so close and nurturing that they've produced so many young, successful members of their family, I would submit to you, a lot of it has to do with the fact that their mother, Maria, and their father have a very strong and supportive environment. But the other reason why we wanted to acknowledge him today is also because of a great program that I've been very supportive of over the last year, and that's the Hallenbach PAL Youth Boxing Program. And with me today is Officer Hector Ibarra, who in December of 1999 was asked to develop and maintain a boxing program at Hallenbach Youth Center. And he has done just that, working with other volunteer coaches, most of them LAPD officers, yes, and working with these young kids, giving them the skills that they need, the discipline, emphasizing education, because that's so important, and really doing a great job, as PAL has been known to do. So today we acknowledge and recognize Hector Almazon, 5-time national champion from the East Side, an honor student, working with Mr. Ibarra and the other officers who work with the PAL program. And so on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, Hector, I'd like to present this certificate of recognition of your many accomplishments. And something tells me these are the beginning accomplishments of a long journey of success on your part. And as you know, the most important thing that you could do is not just be successful, but then come back and give back to your community. So on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, I'd like to present you with this certificate of recognition for all your accomplishments. Thank you very much, sir. I want you to talk.
Hello, I would like to thank everybody that made this possible. I'd like to thank my coach and Councilman Villaraigosa. And I would like to thank you all for having me here. And my mom for making this all possible also. I have very supportive parents, and I also like to thank my sister for paving the way for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Councilmember Villaraigosa. Mr. Clerk, let's run through the agenda really quickly.
First order of business is approval of the minutes.
Mr. Reyes moves, Ms. Hahn seconds, minutes are approved.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Garcetti moves and Ms. Hahn seconds, those are also approved.
Before beginning the regular agenda, there's been a request by the applicant to continue item 16 to December 7th.
Members, is there any objection to continuing the planning issue item 16 to December 7th? Seeing none, that'll be the order.
There's also been a request to continue item 36 to Tuesday, November 23rd.
The issue of item 36 continuance to
November 23rd.
November 23rd. Any objections? If not, that will also be the order.
On the regular agenda, items 1 through 15 are items for which public hearings have been held. Personnel Committee has submitted a report on item 10.
All right. We have those items before us, members. Any specials? Items 1 through 16? Items 1 through 16 are before us. If there's no request for hearings or reopening the hearing, then open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved.
Items 17 through 32 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
The next set, items 17 through 32. Any specials, members? 17 through 30, Ms. Gruhl?
Item number 31. No, item number 31.
31 is called special by Councilmember Gruhl. Any other specials?
Madam Chair, there are cards on 32 as well.
All right, then we will call 32 special as well for speaker cards. Open the roll. Ms. Perry?
Got a request for Mr. Parks, who will be here momentarily, to hold 29 on the table, and he would like item 36 continued until Tuesday, November the 23rd.
We had continued 36, but we will also then call special 29 until Mr. Parks is here. The rest are now before us, members. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved.
On the continuation agenda, items 33 through 35 are items for which public hearings have not been held.
We have the continuation items. Any specials, members? Mr. Cardenas?
I wanted to continue item 33.
All right.
Or for how long?
How long would you like that?
At least a week. We need time to look at the document.
All right. Is there any objection to continuing item 33 for?
No, I'm sorry, next Tuesday. We're not here
Yes.
next week.
For
I
next,
mean, at the end.
to continue to our next council meeting then? No objection, that'll be the order on 33. The other two remaining?
I know I won't be here next week. Are there concerns or problems? I guess that would be the...
We haven't had time to look at the
Well, we can continue it till, if there's, we can continue till the first week we're meeting in December, if there's no urgency.
That'd be great.
All right, then they will make that December 13th, I believe. Again, any other item special?
I just wanted to call item number 26 forthwith what we just passed, if we could.
All right, let's open the roll on these. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved, and we'll send item 26 forthwith.
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Zine.
can I ask that item 10 be forthwith, please?
Item 10 will also be forthwith without
Thank you.
objection. Mr.
Madam
Clerk?
President, that takes care of the items called special for the regular agenda. Do you wish to take up the special meeting agenda?
Let's go through the special agenda as well, special meeting agenda. I guess you have to call the roll.
Cardenas, Garcetti, Gruel, Han, Labange, Ludlow, Miskowski, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Smith, Villaraigosa, Weiss, Zine, Padilla. 12 members present and a quorum.
All right, let's go through those items.
There are items 1 and 2 are items for which public hearings have been held.
All right, any specials on the special, any council calling an item special on our special council meeting agenda, item 1 or 2? Seeing none, those matters are before us. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. I believe that concludes our special council meeting agenda. We will adjourn that and go back to the regular meeting. And let me call for our next presentation at this time, Councilmember Reyes.
Good morning, council members. Buenos dias. With me today, I have some very special people whom I proudly call friends. Joining us this morning is Frank Muniz, Rosemary Muniz, and their mother, Lorenza Muniz, and their aunt, Francisca Arias. I'm here today to tell you a story of a family who epitomizes the idea of honor, of family, and just as important, of understanding the concept of community responsibility and giving back. Alberto and Lorenza Muniz immigrated to the United States from Chihuahua, Mexico in 1955, seeking better opportunities for the 5 children, Mario, Alberto, Rosa Maria, Lorenza, Francisco, and Ramon. Not having the opportunity to complete their primary level education, Alberto and Lorenza always instilled in their family the importance of a good education and using that education for the betterment of their community. As a result of their parents' dedication and encouragement, all 5 Muniz children have earned their university degrees. Today, all 5 hold professional positions in the field of education, ranging from early childhood and education to the university level. To honor the teachings of their parents, they established the Muniz Family Foundation in 2001. The foundation is dedicated to providing scholarships to local youth by providing a minimum of 10 scholarships of $1,000 each. Some might say that's not much, but for that student who doesn't have enough to buy that computer, or to pay for their insurance, or to pay for their books, it could mean a difference between continuing education and dropping out. This Sunday, they will be having their 2nd annual Distinguished Community Leaders Award Luncheon. Past recipients of the scholarships have advanced their studies in the fields of accounting, business, clinical psychology, education, engineering, information systems, medicine, and molecular biology. However, I am very proud to welcome them here today for another special reason. They were all raised in my neighborhood, Cypress Park. The Muniz family has always been involved in many of the issues in developing this community, developing the 40-acre park that begins construction next month, and developing the Cypress Park Library, bringing services to the community center, in spite of the fact that you always have characters and personalities who seem to attack because they can, who seem to want to look at the negative side. The Muniz family always looked at the positive and brought out all the constructive people that makes things happen. So because of their activity, it is with great pleasure that I honor them for not only their work that they have done, but for the manner in which they have done it. They've done it with grace, respect, and honor. Señora Muniz, le quiero presentar este certificado por sus logros, todo lo que han hecho para nuestra comunidad, la influencia de su familia para muchas personas, el norte-este y para los estudiantes que siguen en su comunidad, en su educación, por la razón que usted ha podido traer este nivel de consideración y corazón a mucha gente en nuestras vecindades. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes, and I believe Mr. Cardenas would also like to.
Thank you. Gracias. I just wanted to say a few words because I'm proud to know the Muniz family, and we've worked together on issues throughout the community on and off, because when you're working in the community, you run into each other formally and informally. And I just like to say that this San Fernando Valley Muniz family is a very humble family, and I say that respectfully, because this humbleness exudes itself in many ways in good works in the community, by being giving people and being very proud. But the kind of pride that exudes itself in, once again, doing humble works, in being proud of yourself and proud of your community and giving back. And it's always wonderful to see that in this great country, people from humble beginnings can be leaders in a community. So with great pride, I join Mr. Reyes and the rest of the council in honoring you today. And I'd like to say a few words in Spanish, if you don't mind. Me da mucho orgullo estar aquí y para reconocer a su familia, señora, y para usted, que usted es una señora humilde y usted es una señora que sí sabe cómo educar a sus hijos. Es muy importante que todos sepan que la educación formal es algo bueno y bonito y abre puertas, pero un hija que no tiene educación en la casa es una persona que está perdido, y usted nunca perdió esa visión, usted nunca perdió eso para su familia y para su comunidad, y por eso le damos este reconocimiento. Este día merece mucho usted y su familia, y muchísimas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you.
Mr. Villaraigosa.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, I too want to acknowledge the Muniz family. I didn't realize as I was walking real quickly, frankly, that I've known Ramon Muniz now for about 15 years, and we've met over the years and represented this family in Cypress Park when I was in the State Assembly. And this is a wonderful foundation. I too want to add my voice to the work that you've done with this foundation, but the work that you've done in our community. You have been one of those rare community-minded families that have been so involved, caring, and committed to community, and I wanted to acknowledge that too. Dije en inglés que también quería dar unas palabras en apoyo de este reconocimiento, porque sabemos, conozco a su hijo Ramón y a la familia, y ustedes han dado mucho a nuestra comunidad, y por eso te quiero dar las gracias.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Councilmember.
So once again, it is my pleasure to present the certificate to Lorenza, Frank, Rosemary Muniz, and thank their tía Francesca Arias for joining us. Muchas gracias. Would you like to share a few words? Please share a few words, Mr. Muniz.
Thank you, Councilman. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. We don't see this as work. We see this as an honor for us to give back to the community, and we look forward to continuing to give back for the future of our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Reyes.
Gracias.
Let me now recognize Councilmember Labange. You have nothing? All right. You're always an honor to recognize. Councilmember Weiss, then, I believe, has a presentation. Is Councilmember Weiss? Councilmember Weiss?
Thank you, colleagues. It's a real privilege to be here today to honor the Westmark School from Encino, which is celebrating its 20th year. We're here with some folks who go to the school, who run the school, and it has been a tremendous, remarkable 20 years for Westmark. They have done so much for students who have learning differences, learning difficulties, and they've done so much not only to provide these people with a first-rate, absolute A1 education, but they're also doing their part in society to reduce and eliminate the stigmas that in days past were associated with these sorts of learning difficulties. Westmark is an absolute model for this city, and I'm really pleased to honor it on the occasion of its 20th anniversary. And I'd like to ask Mrs. Schenken from the school to come and say a few words. Welcome, Westmark School.
I'll be really brief. It's an honor for us to be here and be recognized. It means so much to our students and our staff and our parents. We've been doing this for 20 years now, and we have served children from the 2nd through the 12th grades, and 95% of our children go on to college. So thank you. Thank you for this recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Congratulations to the school. I believe that concludes our presentations today. So, Mr. Clerk, let's go back to the items.
Madam Chair, do you wish to take the public comment period at this time?
Yes, we will take public comment. Let me call forward. Our speaker cards today are all from the group representing the South Central Farmers. Would you please come forward and address us at this time?
Mi nombre es María Rodríguez.
My name is Maria Rodriguez.
Yo represento al South Central Farmers,
I represent the South Central Farmers.
41 y Alameda.
That's on 41st and Alameda.
Quiero que nos dejen quedarnos ahí. Ahí sembramos nuestras verduras.
I want you guys to let us stay there. We sow our vegetables and fruits.
Queremos espacios verdes para nuestros hijos,
We want green spaces for our children,
nuestros nietos,
our grandchildren,
para personas adultas ya retiradas.
for our elderly folks, people retired.
Ahí hay personas que no tienen piernas
There are people that don't have any legs,
y aún así están trabajando ahí.
and even like that, they are working there like that.
Es todo.
That's all.
Mi nombre es Susana Cortés.
My name is Susana Cortés.
También vengo representando al Sur Centro Farmer de la 41 Street.
I'm also here representing the South Central Farmers on 41st Street.
También, lo mismo que dijo la señora, queremos campos verdes y seguros para nuestros niños, ya que también necesitamos el suplemento para nuestros alimentos.
Also, like the old lady says, we need green lands, we need to grow our fruits for our children, we need to supplement our lands.
Ya que es también suplemento para nuestra familia.
Supplement for our family.
Y pues seguros para los niños y el campo.
And
Lo
a
que se ve,
safe
lo que
place
son.
for our family and the field. That's all.
Mi nombre es Federico Vargas, vengo representando el subcentro, Perman.
My name is Federico Vargas. I represent South Central Farmers.
Yo tengo 10 de familia y allí los he enseñado a cómo se trabaja la tierra y yo quisiera que nos pudieran dejar allí para seguir entrenando a mis nietos y todo para seguir trabajando.
I have family there and I have my children there. I want us to stay there so I could show them how we cultivate the land and grow our fruits and everything.
Ok, es todo.
That's all. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Diane. Hi, my name is Diana Iniguez. I really love going to the garden because I have a lot of fun and I learn about plants, and that's all.
Mi nombre es Vidal Villagómez y soy uno de los representantes ahí del 41 de Alameda de los Farmers.
Hi, my name is Vidal Gomez and I'm one of the representatives of the farmers in South Central.
Allí estamos enseñando a los niños cómo se cultiva las plantas que cultivamos nosotros, a nuestros hijos, y también las personas que llevan sus hijos allí. Es una gran distracción porque allí es un lugar seguro que los niños corren y bueno.
Yes. I want to tell you that I went otra vez. I'm sorry.
Los niños juegan a gusto.
I want to say that the children play there. We want to stay there. That the children play there. We show them how to grow their fruits, and they like playing there. And also, the people that come over there, we show them how to cultivate the plants and so on.
Es que ahorita, hoy en día, como se está viviendo la delincuencia, ya los niños en los parques de recreación ya no están seguros porque siempre allí hay mucha violencia.
It's because now in so many parks now there's so much violence and so much crime. It's not like that where we're at. We want to show them what's right.
Me gustaría que alguien de ustedes lleven sus hijos allí a conocer el jardín de la 41 y Alameda y así se darán cuenta cuál es la importancia para nosotros. Gracias.
I would like for you to take your children over there to show them what it's like on 41st and Alameda. Take your children and we could show them what it's like. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Claudia Velázquez. Me gustaría que nos dejaran los jardines porque, entre muchas otras cosas, nos permite enseñar a nuestros hijos cosas productivas y mantenerlos fuera de las calles. Gracias. Claudia Velázquez.
Hi, good morning. My name is Claudia Velasquez. I wish you could let us have the land so we could show our children what is cultivate and we show them productive things, how we grow our things. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That now concludes our public comment period. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, what are the remaining items?
Item 29 was called special for Councilmember Parks, but I don't believe he's in chambers just yet.
We'll continue to hold item 29. Our next item?
Item 31 was called special by Councilmember Gruhl, and there was a card from the public.
All right, item 31 is now before us. We have a card that was submitted by Carol Schatz. Carol?
Good morning. I apologize for my casual attire. And my paper is falling on the floor. But we were unpacking our boxes in our new office. I didn't expect to be here this morning. Item 31 is a motion that would replace all of the existing members of the Construction Services Committee. In reading the motion, it also suggests, in very general language, that there may be a need to change the scope. And we were concerned that because this the intent of this committee to deal with one-stop and permit expediting talked specifically about a private sector focus, that it had was coming to the council after a Rule 16 with no real public discussion about the composition, how those members would be appointed, and a potentially different focus for the committee. And we would simply ask that there be a process involved with this, and that it go back to the committee so that we can talk about the composition and make sure that it is fair and represents all of the points of view in the city, and specifically, and more importantly, if there's going to be a change from the private sector focus and the specific focus of One Stop, that be discussed and everyone have an opportunity to weigh in on that issue. So we'd appreciate if it could be sent back to committee. If it may be better to have all council members be able to have one representative on the committee. I think it's deserving of discussion, and we'd appreciate your respect for the process. Thank you very much.
Thank you. While Ms. Grill called this special, we've also have Mr. Reyes who pushed his speaker. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Madam President. In speaking to my colleagues, with Councilmember Gruhl, Councilmember Zine, they had some questions this morning about what this adjustment will mean. And just by way of background, there had been a body standing in this committee for over 12 years. Some say 15, some say 18. There's a range. It's been a long time. And the makeup had stayed the same for all those years. I felt it would be appropriate to reflect the great diversity of the city, to have a balance. And it wasn't one of those, well, I wanted to get mine because I don't even have one representative from my council district on this body. It was more about having an array of skills, having that ability to understand all the dynamics in the building process. But I also want to honor my colleagues' questions and concerns. So I have no problem sending this back to committee. And I would invite my colleagues to recommend people if they'd like. I tried my best to show a level of balance between gender, ethnic makeup, level of expertise, both in the private and the nonprofit sector. But if there's concerns from my colleagues, I want to honor and respond to my colleagues and send this back to committee. Again, the purpose of this entity is to advise building and safety and planning on how we can use technology, systems, better business practices to truly make this city business friendly. So in response to my colleagues, I don't mind sending it back to Planning, Land Use and Management. We'll go through that discussion. I'm truly trying to achieve that balance and that diversity. So again, in honor of my colleagues, I don't mind doing that.
Thank you, Ms. Gruhl.
Thank you, Mr. Labange, and thank you, Mr. Reyes. And as I mentioned to you this morning, I wholeheartedly support the goal of what you're trying to do here, because it's one of those funds that most people around this horseshoe don't know exists, or what the body is, how it operates. And so I think what you're trying to do is open up the process, and I appreciate that and commend you for doing that. And I think I have some questions as it goes back to committee that I'd like your committee to look at, which is the existing balance in the fund, the criteria for the fund distribution, the geographical distribution of the funds, what projects were allocated last year, and I can provide these to you. How long have the previous, I think a lot of these people have served for a long time, and change is a good thing to look at that. So I appreciate your willingness to have that sent back to committee, and look forward to making this a committee and its distribution of funds something that is open and understandable by not only those of us around the horseshoe, but the city at large. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Gruhl. Ms. Visakowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I was here when the One Stop Committee was created. It was created in 1981, and it was what it was at the time, was a surcharge on our building permit fees that developers agreed to pay to help them create this pot of money that they would then give a recommendation to the city as to where it could be spent to over and above general fund, help augment building and safety and other construction services so that they could be expedited as the permits could be managed. We've come a long way since 1981, and in fact, a lot of the innovations, if you look at what this fund did, I mean, it created some of the first additional computer programs, additional availability of permits online, and things like that. So it did good things. But Mr. Reyes is right that I think you would probably find an original member of 1981 who was appointed who's still on it. It was all appointed at that time by one member of the council. It was appointed by Councilmember then Hal Burnson, who, as chair of the Planning and Land Use Committee, helped oversee this. And it was to augment and assist. But over time, it has always singularly been appointed by one source and essentially stayed in place by that one source because there weren't terms. It was never more fully formed. It was really just sort of an advisory task force, but it did sit. The CLA sits with them regularly, talks about the accumulation of funds, and talks about the expenditure funds. So I was very, very pleased to second this motion by Mr. Reyes because, and I can tell you, in the 1981 days, as you might imagine, there was very, very, very little diversity. There was no woman on the committee. It was all people who were developers, builder, expediter, lobbyists, who knew a lot about how things could be done more efficiently, but again, had singularly that focus. I think it's time for a review. I appreciate Mr. Reyes' willingness to take this to committee. Whether or not it needs to be changed in a more elaborate way, or just say, let's create terms, let's have input into this. It's going to stay the same thing. It's going to be this group of people who are going to want to help our departments expedite. We've heard that all the time through our budget committee and budget and finance about how can we do things better to help the business community develop in the city and get permits. But I think it's healthy to have a view overall, and I think some of the advocates that Mr. Reyes had just suggested as sort of a first layer of new ideas and new energy there are looking at partly where we want development community to help us take this city, and that's positive, and that's good, and it is healthy. So I was happy to second it. I'm happy that Mr. Reyes is going to take it up, and I'm happy that we have more focus and sort of a renewal of one of these sort of sleeper kind of committees that we've had in the city that's worthwhile looking at and reaffirming, reassessing where we want it to be today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Bisikowski. I also think you should mention former Councilman Wilkinson, who helped greatly on this chair. Mr. Cardenas, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Ed Reyes, I can only talk to you about it in full view of the public because of the Brown Act. Two of us make a majority of the Plum Committee. So I just wanted to express to you that I appreciate what you're doing right here. I want to support you in getting it done as soon as possible. I think that if we just have at least one discussion in the Plum Committee and soon, and I'll do everything that I can to be there and be a part of it, let's get this moving, let's get it done, because I appreciate and respect the fact that you're trying to reevaluate this process and make sure that it's at the level of diversity and awareness that it needs to be. This is a fund that actually affects hundreds of millions of dollars when all is told, but at the same time, a fund that will have jurisdiction over millions of dollars over time. So this is very important. The awareness needs to be broadened, and the best way to do that is to make sure that we have a broad coalition of members on this who can actually do the right thing, do good works. So once again, I just want to say I support what you're trying to do, and I think it's the right thing to do. Let's just have one meeting of the Plum Committee, get some issues out on the table, sharpen it up, get it back here to the floor, and get it moving. So thank you.
Councilman Reyes.
Just in closing, I want to thank you, one, because maybe now I can get someone from my district on the board, but two, when we know how complicated development is, how we fold into different sectors is very critical. So when you look at the robustness of the government sector, the private sector, the nonprofit sector, in the aggregate, they're just as significant in how they impact the quality of life. So I appreciate this opportunity. Again, in respect and honor to my colleagues, we'll bring it back to Plum, we'll get it back out, and we'll move on this. Thank you very much.
All right, without objection, we will send this to Planning and Land Use Committee. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Item 32 was called special inasmuch as there was a card from the public.
Actually, there are a few cards, so let us open the public hearing on item 32 and call forward Mr. John Agnew And it looks like Mr. Nathan McGowan. Please come forward at this time.
Good morning. My name is John Agnew. I'm a resident of the Higgins Building at 108 West 2nd Street and also interested in purchasing condos there. I thought I would just briefly tell you about our experience as both tenants and as potential purchasers. As a tenant, there have been 2 fires in this building recently within a 30-day period, one on the roof and one in the sub-basement. During last year's rainy season, the roof leaked. Again, during the recent rains this year, the roof still leaks. A housing inspection report was submitted to city planning that, and I'm paraphrasing, said that the foundation and structure was in good condition with no visible signs of cracking. And yet an independent inspection report that was commissioned recently found exposed rebar and some other problems. As a potential purchaser, we've experienced a pattern of pressure tactics designed to coerce us into accepting escrows by the owner of this building. I just want to be clear that I don't think it's in the interests of the greater good to hold up this process. However, I think it may be instructive for the council to be aware of these applicants, Barry Shai, LADT, LLC, and some of the other people that are associated with this project. Because I believe Councilman Villaraigosa's district, there is another project by this applicant, and there are several other buildings as well. So thank you for your time.
The next speaker. We had 2 cards submitted, Mr. Agnew and Mr. McGowan. If the other speaker isn't here, then let me close the public hearing at this time and recognize Councilmember Perry.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for allowing me to speak on this issue. This is a tract map approval here today, and I'd like the city attorney, a representative from planning, and Department of Building and Safety to come to the table to answer a few questions. As many of you know, if you recall, when we as a council voted to put the police headquarters in the block immediately north of the Higgins building, it has spawned great controversy with the residents in the Higgins building, and I am concerned that there may be some jumbling of issues, and so I've asked these 3 individuals to come to the table to give us some edification on what is before us today and how building and safety ties into that, what are the legal issues, and whether it is appropriate for us to either, I guess, affirm or deny the tract map approval today, given some of the allegations raised just by one individual today. I'd expected more people to turn out from the building, but only one person spoke, although I do see at least one other gentleman here who I assume lives in the building, but I'm not quite sure. He's shaking his head affirmatively. Can you tell us, starting maybe with building and safety, what the interrelationship is between the building and safety issues and the tract map approval and the planning issues as well?
Yes, Councilmember Dave Lara with Building and Safety. Between the 2 items, well, first of all, building and safety's issues are strictly under the pre-existing permit for the construction that had been going on, and there were some issues that we had brought to the attention of the owner of the building. We had made record of those. Some of those items have been repaired. Other things are still yet pending. As far as we're concerned, we are moving forward, but we have not issued any certificate of occupancy. We're waiting for the tentative tract map to become what it is, and until that time, the certificate of occupancy will be withheld.
Now, the gentleman made an allegation this morning about some water getting in the building, rain, something like that. Is that something you have a record of?
According to the information I have, it's nothing that we have a record of at this time. Although I can tell you in past experience, when rainwater is involved, it usually is somewhat of a workmanship problem, but we can have that matter investigated.
Okay. So what you're saying today is that until the building and safety has been satisfied and the building is in full compliance, you will not issue a certificate of occupancy?
In full compliance with the matters pertaining to the building permit, but in addition to that, we have to wait for city planning's action on the tentative tract map as well for the condo.
So the tract map approval would come before the issuance of the CFO?
Yes.
All right, then can we have the representative from planning speak?
Good morning, Councilmember. Simon Pastusha with LA City Planning Department. What's before you today is the final map, and it's almost to the point of being administerial, because at this point, this was a map that was approved previously, and this is going through, had all its public hearings, and now what is before you is just the final map, which means that all the conditions have been cleared, including the housing inspection report, and satisfied. And that in turn, exactly, this is just for the subdivision, or the ability to actually eventually sell them as condos. It's an existing structure, so that's actually is what is before you at this point. And it's most of the time at this point, there's nothing, we have cleared all the conditions with the planning department that relate, we've cleared all the conditions related to the tract map, and this is why you have a final map before you.
So tell us, for purposes of those who don't understand, what does it mean to clear conditions? What conditions were cleared?
When it was approved for condominium purposes, and this is an adaptive reuse project, there were several clearances that are required. Usually it relates to the division of land, so there either was public street improvements, dedication, payment of parks and recreation fees, the submittal of a housing inspection report on the condition of the building. That would be most of the ones on there. If any parking that would be required, those sort of things. And this is just a map that actually gives them the ability with the Department of Real Estate to actually sell the units as condominiums.
Mr. Lara.
Councilmember, one correction I do want to make. I just checked with staff, and that matter of that leak has been repaired. We confirmed that. And also to clarify a statement that I made, that we are not issuing a C of O on the condo conversion portion, but we have issued a C of O on the live-work environment of the actual units.
So you have issued a certificate of occupancy
Yes.
on that?
That's how they're able to...
Which is what is allowing this tract map to proceed today? Or that... No, that comes first and then, yeah, okay.
Well, I guess the clarification is the certificate of occupancy is for an apartments, and that's why there are people living in the building.
Got
and
it.
then it has to be, another one has to be issued for condominium purposes.
Okay. All right, and the city attorney, based on your review of this situation, is there any substantive reason to deny this tract map approval today?
No. If the conditions have been cleared from the tentative map, then the final map before you is basically, as Mr. Pastusha said, a ministerial act. The only means for you to disapprove the map is if, according to the Subdivision Map Act, that the conditions haven't been cleared.
Okay, by planning.
By whoever, engineering, planning, whoever's supposed to clear them.
So have all departments reported in then?
That's correct. The way it works is there are many different departments. They all issue their clearances, and then the Bureau of Engineering basically schedules the final map before council. So yes, everything has been cleared.
Okay. I have no further questions or comments.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. All right, then the matter is before us for recordation of the map. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Members, we also excuse Mr. Labange. And what is remaining on the desk, Mr. Clerk?
Item 29 was being held for Councilmember Parks.
Mr. Parks, item 29 was called special.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We'd just like on 29 to make a technical amendment, primarily dealing with the Cultural Affairs account where we're moving money transferred into Fund number 8440 Lemert Park, account 202T, and then to the Cultural Affairs Fund 844 Lemert Park, account 202T.
All right, with that technical correction on the account change, that matter is now before us. Open the roll, close the roll, Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved.
Madam President, Special 1 has been introduced by Councilmember Parks, seconded by Councilmember Garcetti, and the City Attorney will speak to the findings.
All right, let's hear from the City Attorney.
Yes. Madam President, members, this is a motion introduced by Councilman Parks. It's asking that the mayor be given authority to accept the grant. The Department of Housing and Urban Development recently announced that the city was to be awarded the Brownsfield Economic Development Initiative a grant for the LA Design Center project located in Council District 8. The grant award consists of $1 million in grant funds and $6 million in committed Section 108 loan guarantee funds. The deadline to accept the grant is today, Friday, November 19th. In order to ensure the city retains the funds, the council should authorize the mayor to accept the grant award. Therefore, for the council to entertain Mr. Parks' motion, there has to be a finding under the provisions of the Government Code and Rule 23 of the City Council rules that there is a need to take immediate action on this matter and that the need for action came to the attention of the City Council subsequent to the posting of today's council agenda meeting.
All right, you've heard the City Attorney recite the finding ideas, so let's open the roll on asserting this Rule 23, allowing us to take action today. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
All right, that matter is before us. Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't think I can add much from the City Attorney. It's something that is a part and parcel of our industrial plan, in which we have a number of facilities in one of the last industrial areas in the central city that we want to take advantage of this grant because of the potential of cleanup in that area. And so we asked that we not only get a unanimous vote, but we go forthwith.
We've heard that. And open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved, and we'll send that forthwith.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
They are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Miskowski requests to be excused on January 4th, 5th, and 7th for personal business that meets council policy.
That excuse is approved.
And Councilmember Villaraigosa requests to be excused to leave at noon on Tuesday, November 23rd for personal business. That also meets council policy.
Mr. Villaraigosa is excused.
That clears the desk, Madam President.
All right, members, are there announcements? And let me read into the record and alert the council members on behalf of Councilmember Padilla that the Rules and Election Committee will be meeting next November 22nd for the purposes of approving the signers on the ballot for two items that will appear on the March election. Two charter amendments dealing with the fire and police pension plan to include the Port Police, and three other modifications to the fire and police pension plan. So anyone who wants to be designated to write the arguments in for this or in opposition to it should contact the Council President's office and be ready for the Rules and Election Committee, which will be actually meeting November 23rd before Council, so that Council can designate those signatories on Tuesday at the council session. Any other announcements? Mr. Cardenas.
Yes, I'd just like to point out that just a few weeks ago, I recognized the girls' softball team at the School for the Deaf in Riverside, and I'd just like to say that the boys are doing a pretty good job. Their football team is now going to the next level of their sectional finals, and their goal is to unseat the 50-plus year winning streak record that hangs in the gym locker room, the picture of that team. They would like to replace them, and it looks like they're on their way. So I just wanted to encourage them and thank them for showing that courage and that stamina to put their eye on the prize and to actually hopefully reach it real soon. So not only are the girls at the California School for the Deaf in Riverside doing a wonderful job, but the boys are too.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. Other announcements? Mr. Parks?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like you to indulge us for just a second. We have one of our crime victims, Mrs. Gwendolyn Stewart Singleton here, and I'd like to ask her to come up to the mic. But we're introducing a motion because her son, Stevelyn Austin Singleton, standing in front of 4610 St. Andrews when a gold-colored Lexus approached and several unidentified suspects walked out of the vehicle and suddenly, without provocation, began firing at Mr. Singleton, in which he is now deceased. And I'd like to ask Mrs. Singleton, who's taken a very active role in this investigation, has brought to our attention her concerns, and we wanted to introduce this motion, but have her have an opportunity to make some public comments.
Good morning. As a councilman has just stated, my name is Gwendolyn Stewart Singleton. I'm the mother of Steveland Austin Singleton. My family, starting with my mother, has been extremely instrumental in getting various passages passed in the council, in the 8th Council District, since 1947. And I was born in 1949, so I was born into a political family. The black-on-black crimes that are occurring specifically in the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, and the 13th Council Districts have to stop. I can't stand here this morning and tell you how important it is to generate some additional funds specifically to the council districts that I've just outlined to you. I realize that there are numerous organizations that have sprang up supposedly to try and bring resolve to these murders, but we don't have enough funds down there. I had a nonprofit organization, it was called Music in South Central, MISC, and I have to tell you that I'm full of rage right now, but I'm controlling myself to the best of my abilities. I've changed the name of Music in South Central now to Murders in South Central. Additionally, I've started another nonprofit organization. The acronym is STEVIE, S-T-E-V-I-E, but STEVIE stands for Striving Towards Eradicating Violence in the Inner City. I'm in the process, as we speak now, through the Ford Foundation with a very good friend of mine, Jan. I have gotten an unofficial pledge from them of $1.5 million for Stevie. Just as soon as I can send to her documentation that the nonprofit is up and running. And with every dime of that money, I intend not only to find out who murdered my son, but other mothers like me. I have met the day after my son was murdered, which was the 27th. I participated in a march for a young lady who was murdered in the city of Carson. Born out of that, there are 75 additional mothers that are just like me. They are angry. We need some help. There was no reason for me to have to get out in the street and beat the streets as hard as I did to find out who murdered my son. That's not my job. That's not my responsibility. But the resources are not there to support the officers at 77 Police Station who are supportive of me, namely Detective Burciaga. That man ate, slept, and breathed 24 hours a day trying to find out who murdered my son. This has to stop. My son was murdered 3 blocks from where he was born. My son was born on 49th and St. Andrews. My son was murdered on 46th and St. Andrews. And I just need your help. I need a commitment that funds somehow be found somewhere to put back into those council districts, because we need your support. We can't do it by ourselves. I don't want to see another mother's child murdered. Not like my child was murdered. My child was 25 years old, had just been accepted in the International Career Development Center College. Never made it to the first day. He went back to 46th and St. Andrews, around the corner from where he was born, to meet up with another young man to take him back to his school so his counselor, Lisa, could talk to him about enrolling in that school. And then they killed my son? That's unfair. I've lost a part of my past, my present, and my future. My son not only leaves me, he leaves a 5-year-old daughter. A 5-year-old daughter. Every day I have to look at her and I try to explain to her, where is my daddy? Do you know what that child says to me? They call me Grams. Say, Grams, you can do anything. You can do anything. If you ask God to give me back my daddy, I'll do anything you want. That's every day, every day. That child is going to counseling along with me with an organization that's called Loved Ones at 5 years old. She shouldn't have to do that. And it's because we can't control the rampant idiots that are running through South Central Los Angeles. And when they do get before a judge and a jury, they get a little slap on the hands and go right on back home to their parents. Those people need to be locked up. We need additional funds allocated to the council districts that I mentioned earlier on, and we need your help, we need your support. We don't need to wait 6 or 7 months for dimes to be turned up. I need more dedicated officers out there on the street from 77th putting these people where they belong so they will never, ever kill another child. And I thank you for this motion. Councilman Parks, you have truly, truly been a gem. Your son, this young man heard me cry every day this week on the phone, and I thank he and I thank his father for presenting this motion for my son. And trust me, when this runs out in 60 days, I'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Stewart Singleton. We appreciate you being here. We think you put a face on this motion, and we hope that it does aid the 77th in locating the suspects. Thank you.
All right, we have the motion before us?
Yes,
No.
we'll do this Wednesday.
Okay, the motion will be introduced on Wednesday, so thank you for that presentation. Now is the time for any adjourning motions. There are adjourning motions, so can I ask everyone to please rise? Mr. Reyes?
No.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to adjourn in memory of Jovito Eddie Carrion, who passed away this morning of terminal cancer at the age of 76. Jovito Carrion was Mike Hernandez's uncle. Although Jovito was Mike's father's cousin, they grew up together in the same house as brothers. Jovito was born in Austin, Texas on February 15, 1928. He moved to Los Angeles in 1968 and has lived here ever since. On November 25th, 1978, he married Margarita Graciela and have been happily married for almost 30 years. Mike remembers his uncle fondly as the man who taught him how to really play billiards. In his own words, he describes his uncle in the following way: "He was a character, but he was my character." Jovito leaves his brothers, Carlos and Leon, sister Minnie, and cousin Paul, who all grew up in the same house. He's also survived by his wife, Margarita Graciela, and his nephew, Mike Hernandez, and his brother, Joe. And I want to thank Councilman Perry for letting me acknowledge commemoration of Mike's uncle.
Second that, please.
All right. All members will join that. Any other tributes? Mr. Parks? No. All right. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll. Council is adjourned.
You are watching LA City View, Channel 35. Your city, your channel.
We now join our scheduled program in progress.